Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Lean in Government podcast. I'm your host, Alan Gannick. Thank you for joining me today as we explore practical ways to improve government processes, serve our community better, and develop stronger teams. Today, I would like to talk to you about how to improve a flow. To improve a process flow, first, what you need to do as a leader is to develop your team, coach and mentor your team. Your team is the best asset that you have at your organization. If you develop them well, train them, mentor them, help them, they're going to make you very successful. Not just you, but the entire organization. You will build this healthy culture and a great team around you that's going to be there to support you. There's no leader in the world that can do everything themselves. That's why the leadership role is to influence others to follow them and develop them, not to do things. If you want to become a real lean leader, your job is to learn how to influence others, people around you, to help you achieve the desired goal. Today, I would like to share 10 tips with you. So today, I would like to share with you 10 steps. Step number one, we always start from the customer perspective. We want to know, number one, what does the customer need? That's the first question you need to answer. What quality customers expecting and at what speed do they need those services or products? In our case, is a service. Number two, you need to map out the current process. Why? Well, before you even think about improving something, you have to have a good understanding and grasp the current condition. What's happening right now within my process? Number three, identify waste in your process. If you're not familiar with Lean, 8 Deadly Wastes, I would highly recommend that you learn 8 Deadly Wastes that are well known in Lean cultures. Number four, simplify and standardize your work. What I mean by that? Well, when you define your current state and you and your team define some countermeasures, how to improve your process, then you need to simplify it. In that process, as you are changing the job method, you need to simplify. Make it simple. Simplicity is the key. And then, after it's proven that the new method works, you need to standardize that. That was the step number four. Step number five, reduce handoffs and approvals. Typically in a government environment, there are lots of those handoffs. One person does one thing, then they give it to another one and another one till it gets done. And before it gets done, it needs to get approved by this person, by that person. And that is why in government services, some of our processes are so long. Try to apply for a US passport. Try to schedule an appointment to get your driver license. You'll see what I'm talking about. And why? Because they're not practicing Lean. Step number five, reduce handoffs and approvals. And I'll talk more about that in future episodes and some of the ideas I will share with you today in this podcast. Number six, create one-piece flow. If you're batching a permit process, batching vehicles to park, your aim should be to get rid of the batching process. Your aim should be to eliminate batching process and focus on one-piece flow. Ultimately, what you really want is continuous flow. In our example, inside a parking ramp, what we really want, and we were focusing, how fast can we process one car at a time? So one piece flow. But then our focus was later, how can we make a continuous flow so the cars don't even stop at the booth? At the booth, we process one at a time. But if you can have created a process where people can just come in and park their vehicles and never stop and talk to us, that would be a continuous flow in that example. Number seven, introduce a pull system instead of a push system. Just to give you an idea, if you're new to this and you don't know what pull or push system is, I'll give you an example. In auto industry here in the United States, we used to have a push system where a manufacturer makes certain cars and certain colors, and they push this to the dealer to sell those vehicles. We found out the hard way that that didn't work for very long. Why? Because people had different ideas what kind of vehicle they want, what color they want, what kind of stereo they want to have in their vehicles, and other things. So other companies like Toyota has figured it out, and they were creating a pull system based on the customer demand, what the customer really wants, and how much they're willing to pay for the vehicle. That's the vehicle that they produce. They would not produce the vehicle unless they get a demand from the customer. And that's happening in the United States today as well. So instead of a push system, pushing someone, making somebody do something, create a pull system. As customer demand comes in, then you provide the services or products to the customer that they wish. Number 8, you need to build a team problem solving capabilities. You need to develop your people to become scientific thinkers, someone who's going to have a rational thinking, who's going to work off facts, not assumptions, and know how to identify the root causes of a problem and how to address them properly. That is very important when you are building a strong team to support you. Number 9, make problems visible. In future episodes, we're going to talk about visual management. Visual management is a great tool to help you make things visible, problems visible, to see abnormalities in 5 seconds or less. And number 10, the last step that I want to share with you, continuously improve. Whatever you're doing today, even you made an improvement, think, how can you make this better tomorrow? Everything we do today, there's somebody out there in the world that can do better than what we did today. And we have to have that mindset. We should not have that ego that we think we're the best. Nobody can beat us. Unfortunately, some companies, including here in the United States, had that mindset. They thought we're the largest, we have the most money, most land. Nobody can beat us. And that was not the case. A country that did not have that luxury, that much land and capital in their hands, they were able to beat us. So get rid of that ego. Same thing in government. All right, let's get into our story today about how to apply these 10 steps. I joined Parking Services in 2008. And one of the first complaints that I received from customers, phone calls, voicemails, emails, is during the events, especially on Friday and Saturday night, when the town is booming in the evening, when the people are getting some rest and they want to enjoy some time with their family, go to a venue, watch maybe a hockey game or something like that. That's when problems happened within our facilities. And that's why they were calling me and sharing their frustrations with me and asking me to fix the problem. So as a leader, I listen to my customer. Remember, step number 1, listen to your customer. Understand what your customer needs. In my particular case, customer wanted to spend as little as possible time to get inside a ramp, park the vehicle, and go to the restaurant or go to a venue to watch a game or something else with their family or friends. As well, at the end of the event, our customers wanted to get back to their vehicles and exit our facilities in shortest period of time. So that was the need of my customer. And at that time, we did not fulfill that need. Our loading time to load a 900 parking ramp, so 900 cars can park inside a ramp in the evening, was between hour and a half to 2 hours. Depends on the evening, who was working there, and different conditions, weather conditions, but average was 1.5 to 2 hours. Well, that's too long. Imagine you coming to a venue and now you have to wait in your car an hour, hour and a half just to park your vehicle. That's a long period of time. So we could not provide those type of services to our customers because it's not acceptable. So what did I do? I listened to the customer first, found out what quality they want, at what speed, and what their needs are. Number 2, I mapped out the process. Remember, step number 2, I went to the Gemba, actual place of work, and work with my team. So now you can develop your entire team. So I used to have at night maybe 50, 60, 70 people working at night sometimes during these events at different facilities. You can't develop everyone at once, but you can do your key players you can develop. Supervisor, team leaders. And that's what I did. I mapped out a current process of what is happening today to understand my customers' frustrations and to understand where we have those bottlenecks, those red tapes that are slowing down our customers and not allowing them to park in a reasonable amount of time inside our facilities. So during that mapping a process, remember in my second episode where I was talking about what we do during this process is listening and observing. That's all we do. So after documenting the current process, we need to go back to the conference room after the event. Everybody's done. Everybody finished their task. There was always a window, 2-hour window plus, where we had while the people are at the venue, like if they went for a hockey game, we had that window that we could do other things during that period of time. In our case, we went back to study and talk about what I have seen during this mapping process. And we as a team have identified where the bottlenecks are. And we look for the waste, for example, waste of waiting. That was the biggest waste that we had. And we identified where the customers were waiting the longest. And that's the problem that we're trying to solve, but we don't know yet how to solve it. Why? Because we don't know the root cause. We only know that the problem exists at this area, and that's where the bottleneck is. That's all we knew. All right, so we identify the wastes. If you don't know 8 deadly waste, I highly recommend that you learn those. And what I typically like to do, I like to write that on the whiteboard in the conference room when I'm working with my team, analyzing the problems, looking at our process map. I like to write down on the side downtime, acronyms down time, and then D stands for defect, O stands for reproduction, W stands for waiting, and so on. I write that down, remind my staff what each acronym means so they can start thinking about those wastes. And I give them an example. Waste of waiting would be this. Waste of overproduction would be that. Waste of defect would be kind of, in our environment, this and that. So they kind of have idea what that is if they don't already know. But my team was very new to Lean, didn't know much about it. So I had to educate them. Before they can help me, I have to educate my people. Remember how I said at the beginning, we need to develop our staff. That's our leader's job. All right, so then what we did, we found those bottlenecks. We did some root cause analysis. So I'm going to go into details how we found the root causes. Maybe we're going to talk about root cause analysis in future episodes. But we did find a root cause for each bottleneck. And then we came up with some countermeasures, some ideas for improvement. How we're going to improve that and overcome those bottlenecks to reduce that time of 1.5 to 2 hours of load in. Same thing during the load out. And team came with some great ideas. For example, to cone off the first level and second level. So people are forced to go to third, fourth, fifth, and sixth and seventh level. So to improve the flow inside the facility, because before, a bottleneck was people pay and there's 2 entrances and they come in from 2 entrances. And there were 2 entrances on one side, 2 entrances on the other side. So basically 4 booths and they're coming all at once. And if people park in the first spots, that creates a bottleneck. And that was the problem. You have 4 vehicles and then 8 vehicles and so on. 16 vehicles waiting to park because 1 or 2 people are parking the first, backing in to a parking spot. So there was a bottleneck. That was the one idea when it comes into loading a ramp. And we improved that. The other one we had is to have our traffic control people, security and booth attendants who were in charge of traffic control to stand at each corner at each level of the ramp and direct customers where to park. As we were filling up the second level, and they would show them, here's an open spot, you park here. So they point to the vehicle and say, you park there, you park there. So they kind of organized everyone where to park, and that improved the speed. So people did not have to search and say, where's the available spot? And everybody was smiling and directing people, just keep going until they got to the person that was directing them where to park. That helped a lot during the load in. So just with those two examples and some few other ones, we were able to cut the load-in time by 50%. People that work at parking services for a very long time, they could not believe it, how fast we got people in. There were times where we were able to park everyone, I'm talking about 900 vehicles, within 20 to 30 minutes. That was unheard of. Everybody working there, even those that worked there for 20, 25 years, have never seen that. Because our team has analyzed the problems, found the bottlenecks, analyzed the problems, fixed those problems. As a team, had some great ideas how to solve problems. We brainstormed it, we tri-stormed it, and we found out it works. And we know we simplified the process now. What did we do? Remember step number 4? We standardized. Okay, so before, the only standardization that my team had was here. So if somebody would leave the organization, they take that institutional knowledge and it's gone. And that's why now the new team is going to suffer, and it's going to take them a long time until they figure out on their own the best process to load in vehicles or unload vehicles. And we can't sustain like this. In government, unfortunately, we operate till today, we operate a lot from tribal knowledge. And we need to start thinking differently. We need the lean lens and think like scientific thinkers. How can we improve this so we don't have to deal with those issues and deal with issues where people with institutional knowledge leave organizations and it's gone. And then we have to start from beginning from scratch. Okay, standardize. And we'll talk more about standard work later. Number 5, we need to reduce the handoffs and approvals. What I mean by that in this parking services example is we should not have those handoffs like we used to have. Oh, can you go up to this, booth? And then from that booth, the booth then says, okay, can you go to that security officer right there and wait? And then so on. And the security officer say, yeah, you can go. So those handoffs and approvals by our team members need to be eliminated. We need the continuous flow. Somebody parked, so don't stop them, don't batch them. What we used to do batching. Stop. People pay, and there was a space between the booth and the entrance to the ramp. So they would batch until they have about 3 on each side, 3 vehicles on each side. So total of 6, same thing on the other side. Then they would say, okay, this side goes up, you guys wait. And then we were doing the batching process and we removed that completely. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to reduce the handoffs and approval process. And then number 6, create one-piece flow. And ideally, you want to create a continuous flow. That is the one thing that my team and I were focusing on. How can we create a one-piece flow? How can we get one car, have them pay as quickly as possible and get them inside the ramp, and they can just go and park inside the ramp without stopping anywhere. And then later, with today's technology, I don't know if I'm going to have time to talk about that. And today, with today's technology, you are able to create a continuous flow. Have people pay online with their phones, just arrive. And for example, license plate reader can read their plates and gate goes up, RFID readers. There's so many different possibilities. I'm not going to go into details, but you can create that. And without having a customer stop. Toll roads are good examples. Thank you, government and private sector, who created those RFID readers. Here, I live in Dallas, Texas, and we have many toll roads that we use almost daily. And I have an account with them, and they take money as I, as a customer, use their services. They take money out of my account, and then they automatically reload to the level that I have set up. For example, $40. When it's used, it reloads again and adds $40 to my account again. I love it. Why? Because it's a continuous flow. There's no more booth attendant stopping and paying every time you go through a toll booth area. You have to stop and pay or put some coins in like we did back in the day. So that is the continuous flow. Same thing in parking services. You can create that as well. The other thing that I want to talk about is building your team, developing your team to become a problem solvers and to have that capability. Well, to do that, you have to slowly train them, and let them solve those problems as a team, not you, them. So what did I do in parking services? I have told them about these steps that I'm mentioning to you slowly. I didn't tell them write it down, this and that. As I was at the Gemba, actual place of work, I was talking about that. Hey team, from the lean perspective, we need to go first and start from the customer need. What does the customer want? That's the most important thing. And then we need to know, where are we currently? What is our current process? Are we doing it well or not? And where are the bottlenecks and issues? What problems do we see when we map out the process? So as I was doing this, I was slowly educating my supervisors and team leaders who were reporting to me, and I included them. And then when they had enough knowledge, enough ability to solve the problem themselves, I let them figure it out and solve it without me being involved. So I facilitated. I done it initially to show them that it can be done. So as they were learning and becoming the problem solvers and having that capability, I was handing off some of those ideas for improvements to them and letting them figure out and report back to me and the leadership. Another important thing is to make a problem visible. In our parking ramp, making a problem visible is, where is the bottleneck? When is the car stopping? How can we make that visible so everybody can notice it and do something about it? And I'll explain about an example as we're exiting and the issue that we had at the main street. People cannot, it would create a bottleneck right there. They could not connect onto the main road because traffic lights would not stay long enough green to let everybody out and have that continuous flow during the loadout. And I'll talk about that here in a minute, how my team has solved that problem. And then after you documented this new standard, train everyone. Make sure that everyone follows the standard. Enforce the standard. That's the supervisor's job. That's the managers and supervisors' job, is to enforce, to make sure that the standard that have been put in place are enforced until the new standard is created. Then you're going to retrain people and enforce it again. Why? Well, that's going to improve your speed. It's going to improve your quality, and in many cases, safety. So if this is going to improve safety, quality, and speed, you want to make sure you sustain that. And to sustain it, you have to enforce it. The last thing that's very important, and this is in government where people sometimes stop. They celebrate, which they should. For example, we celebrate that we cut from hour and a half to 40 hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours in some worst cases, down to 30 minutes. So on average, when I started, I created a KPI to measure. Now that I know this is something the customer asked us to resolve, I start creating some metrics and measure. Every time we had a load in, load out for any event, I would measure that and report out on a monthly basis to my team and other leaders working with me and exposing it. So for the first time, I created something that was exposing and telling everyone, this is how we perform. Hey team, this is how we perform. Hey leaders, this is how we perform. Transparency, 100%. Did we do well? No. But what's the reason of exposing it? Why would you expose yourself? To show to the whole world that you're not doing well. Because our goal in Lean is to solve the problems for the customers. And how am I going to solve if I'm not transparent with everyone, with leaders and with the team members? So you have to be transparent. And you have to think about continuous improvement. Celebrate your wins, enjoy it, continue with that standard work, but develop your people, everybody on your team. Let everybody know what daily wastes are. Involve everyone to think outside the box, how to identify the waste, how to propose a countermeasure, how to try storm, and if it works, how to report back to the supervisor, ask for approval to make that change in the standard work. And when the supervisor approves, then the standard work is updated, everybody is trained, retrained to the new standard work, and now everybody does it new and approved way. So that's continuous improvement. The other thing I want to share with you was the loadout. And I don't know, I have a feeling loadout was the worst than the load in. And here's why. During the loadout, imagine 900 vehicles, approximately 900 vehicles. Everybody wants to go home at once. So when people coming into town, somebody comes at 6, somebody 6:30, somebody 6:45. The event doesn't start till 7:38. No big deal. They want to go grab something to eat. Some people don't. They go straight to the event. So these people come at different times. But during the loadout, everybody wants to leave at once. And that was the bottleneck created at the main street. I asked my people, what can we do? So, Alan, we as security officers can only control the traffic inside our facilities or on the sidewalk, traffic control on the street. Only police officers are allowed to do that. So there was a gentleman in City Grand Rapids, Lieutenant Dean. He was an outstanding Lieutenant Dean, was outstanding leader. I enjoyed every minute working with this gentleman. He helped me and my team a lot, not just with this problem that we had, with many other ones. And that's when you need to build a relationship with other departments, take those silos down. I asked my team, who's in charge of police during these events? And they told me Lieutenant Dean, he is in charge of all of them. That was his main role within the police department. So I approached, had a meeting with him. I told him about problem I'm solving. I asked him for his input and his help. So what Lieutenant Dean told me in his office is, Alan, there's one thing I can do for you. We have done this in the past, but I don't know, for whatever reason, we stopped doing that. I said, what is that? He said, I can give to your security officer a key to the traffic control box. So the box that controls the traffic lights, I can give you the key. You need to hold that key in your office and give to your team during these events so they can use it and control the traffic lights manually. So what he did, he basically showed me how it's done. I brought my security team leaders with me. We documented everything. It was very simple, but we documented, we created a standard work or a visual aid for our team members. And then only certified and trained security officers were able to touch that key and unlock that traffic control box, and control those traffic lights. So what we have done to improve the flow, the team would go during the loadout, just before the load, unlock it. And as we see that bottlenecks is being created by the main street, my security officers would turn that light to green, which means the other side is going to be red now, these other streets, and let the people out of the ramp. Because these other side streets, they were not very busy. Those were not main roads. So we were able to batch some vehicles on that side street. And when my security officers would see that we have 5, 6, 7 cars now piled up and they're waiting, then he would switch back to red for our customers and let those people pass. As soon as they're gone, instead of having the system constantly 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there, switching, we had that power in our hand, and we says, yep, there's nobody on the side street anymore. Let's switch to our customers and have that traffic light turn to green. This helped us a lot. We were able to unload the ramp, I think, between 30 and 45 minutes. Worst case was 45 minutes, but you have to imagine, we reduced from hour and a half to hour and 45 and up to 2 hours to half hour to 45 minutes to unload 900 vehicles out of that ramp. And that was a huge, huge success. And that is all I wanted to share with you today in this episode, how you can use those 10 steps to solve a problem and how you can use those 10 steps to develop your people. Also, the last thing I want to mention is about how to unite your team. So if you have more than one team, if you have one team, that's okay. But in my particular case, I had 2 teams that I was in charge of. I was in charge of security officer, all the security officers team, and I had team leaders reporting directly to me. And on the other side, I had supervisors, 3 shift supervisors who were managing a parking operation and leading the team. On that side, they both reported to me. So I had 2 teams. And during these events, both teams had to work, but they worked in silos. So the shift supervisor had his own plan and strategy for the booth attendants and traffic control people that he oversaw or she oversaw. And my security officer team leader had their own plan. So they were working in silos. And this is one of the things I found out during that mapping process. I said, why is this team not talking to this team? We're all one family. We're one company. You all report to me. So why do we have this disconnect? I couldn't get it. So I brought the team and told them about it. I didn't blame nobody. I just said, this is just a question that I have. Why is the security people not? Oh, they're security. They have their own task. And then security says, yeah, we don't get into the booth attendants business. Why not? We're one family. Why don't we help each other when somebody needs help? What's wrong with it? And that is how we start taking the walls down for the first time, developing our team, how to communicate, how to work with one another. So now security officer was helping with traffic control, working with the parking booth attendant, people in the booth. At some point, we had them to improve the flow, remember, to have the continuous flow. We were first started with the one-piece flow where we have people pay at the booth, but then people waiting in behind that vehicle. Our security officers were authorized to sell parking tickets, and they would get a certain amount of tickets, and they collect cash and they give it to the booth attendant. They count the money later when the load in is done. They check everything, and that's how we improved it. We helped each other. And in government, I heard this a lot: is, oh, we can't do this. This has never been done before. I heard these excuses constantly. It didn't matter which department. You'll see in future episodes, I almost touched every department within a local government. Almost every. From executive office to water, wastewater, city attorneys, traffic and safety, parking services. I mean, so many. I think all of them. Police, fire, work with everyone. So that is all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode and have learned something from these real examples and 10 steps that I share with you. I hope you're going to like our channel and subscribe to our channel and share with others. Until next time, I wish you well and goodbye.